In 1842, police were called to a Berlin concert hall, not for a riot, for a piano recital. Women fainted. Audiences fought over broken piano strings. The man responsible was Franz Liszt. The frenzy he caused was so extreme, it earned its own word. So just how good was he, actually? The answer begins in a tiny Hungarian village with a child who could barely reach the keys. The parish register in Dobrojan records the birth of Franz Liszt, son of Adam the church organist and Maria Anna Lamb. In the margin, a note added a year later reads, "Already shows great inclination to the clavier." Even as a toddler, Liszt's hands found their way to the family's square piano. By age 7, he was sight-reading his father's exercises, improvising nocturnes on the parish organ, and filling the small house with music that startled neighbours and parish council alike. The Austrian census of 1820 lists him as kind, 8 Jahre, spielt Klavier, an 8-year-old who played the piano not just for his family, but for anyone who would listen. In letters to Baron Esterhazy, Adam Liszt describes his son performing miniature concertos for the estate's guests, leaving audiences astonished at his command of the instrument at merely 11. On June 3, 1823, a handwritten concert poster announced Franz's first public performance before the raiding parish council. The programme was ambitious for a 10-year-old, Mozart's Rondo in D major, a Bach prelude, and Liszt's own variations on a Hungarian folk song. The local newspaper Pester Zeitung reported marvellous dexterity from a child of merely 10 years and predicted a future virtuoso of Europe. That night, the parish council found itself outmatched by a boy who could barely reach the pedals. The applause was real, and so was the sense that something extraordinary had just begun. This was no fairy tale. The documents remain baptismal records, census entries, concert posters, and newspaper lines. They are the first proof that Liszt's genius was not legend but fact, and that the world had already begun to take notice. October 1824, Franz Liszt, now 12, sits at a grand piano in Vienna, face to face with Carl Czerny. Czerny, Beethoven's own student, wastes no time. He drills scales and arpeggios, and he demands clarity, speed, and a left hand as agile as the right. In Czerny's lesson notebook, the entry records October 13th, 1824. Liszt presents his first improvisation on a Paganini theme. Instructor notes brilliance and recommends public exhibition. This is not just praise, it's a signal that Liszt's technical foundation is being forged in the strictest fire Vienna can offer. Czerny's teaching is relentless. He assigns his own art of finger dexterity and pushes Liszt through Beethoven sonatas, Hummel rondos, and his own dazzling etudes. The lesson book fills with notations, octaves, perfect, trills, astonishing, must refine pedaling. Liszt's hands grow stronger, his technique sharper. Every week the boy absorbs more, his fingers racing ahead of even Czerny's expectations. At the same time, Antonio Salieri, director of the Imperial Court Chapel, takes notice. In his diary for 1825, Salieri writes that he met a young Hungarian named Franz, whose technical facility surpasses many of my students, and he suggested an introduction to the Imperial Court. Salieri's lessons go beyond fingerwork. He insists on phrasing that sings, on a cantabile touch, and on understanding the voice within the piano. Liszt learns to shape melodies as if they were arias, to make the instrument breathe. Salieri's influence deepens Liszt's musical imagination. By December 16th, 1825, Liszt stands on stage at the Rosenau Palace. The program lists Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 20, Hummel's Andante Sostenuto, and Liszt's own improvisation on a Hungarian march. The Viennese press marvels that a boy scarcely 14 can eclipse seasoned masters. Behind this triumph lies the discipline of Czerny and the musicality of Salieri, two mentors whose signatures are etched into Liszt's earliest feats. The world sees a prodigy. Vienna knows the work it took to get there. In Paris, concert posters bearing his name began to appear across the city, Salle Pleyel, Théâtre des Italiens, and the salons of the aristocracy. Each date brought a new surge of curiosity. The Parisian press, always hungry for sensation, called him the infant prodigy who makes the piano sing like a voice. Box office receipts from his debut season show every seat sold, with crowds packed into standing room and a waiting list for the next appearance. The city's critics, from Le Figaro to La Presse, sparred over whether Liszt was a mere showman or a true poet. But the numbers told their own story. 3 sold-out performances in a single week, a feat almost unheard of for a foreign teenager. Vienna, too, felt the shock. The theatre Am Kantnertor hosted Liszt in March 1831. The Wiener Zeitung noted extraordinary dexterity and poetic imagination, while the police reported traffic jams outside the theatre. Carriages lined the Ringstrasse, waiting for a glimpse of the young Hungarian at the keyboard. Vienna's musical elite, used to their own, found themselves swept up in the fever. Liszt's diary from this period records a blur of hotel receipts, hurried rehearsals, and a growing stack of invitations from the city's most influential families. London followed. The Royal Philharmonic Society, cautious at first, booked Liszt for a single concert in May 1831. The Times declared the event a phenomenon of astonishing brilliance. That single concert became 3. Audiences filled the hall, and by the end of the week, the Society's ledger recorded record profits. Private diaries from London's upper crust mention the scramble for tickets, with some paying double the face value for a chance to witness the sensation from the continent. Across Europe, Liszt was no longer just a performer, he was a story. The press crafted his image, amplifying every review, every rumour. His name became shorthand for a new kind of musical excitement, a force that seemed to sweep away the old order. Behind the headlines and the posters, Liszt was racing toward a new encounter, one that would push his artistry to its limit and change the course of his career forever. Vienna, May 17th, 1829. In a candlelit concert hall, a young Franz Liszt sits in the audience. Transfixed by the sight of Niccolo Paganini, the violinist's bow flashes, his fingers blur, and the room holds its breath as impossible runs pour from a single instrument. Liszt's diary, written that night, confesses, "I have heard the demoniac genius of Paganini. My soul trembles." For Liszt, this was no ordinary concert. Paganini's playing wasn't just dazzling, it was a challenge. Could the piano achieve the same magic? In the weeks that followed, Liszt locked himself away, pushing his technique past exhaustion. On May 30th, 1829, he completed a new manuscript, his first version of La Campanella, a piano piece inspired by Paganini's famous bell motif. The original, now preserved in the British Library, shows wild leaps, hand crossings, and rapid repeated notes, techniques no pianist had dared attempt before. Liszt didn't stop there. He began to transcribe Paganini's caprices, translating violin fireworks into a language for 10 fingers. The result was a new kind of piano writing, double notes that required each hand to play 2 lines at once, scales in thirds and sixths that sounded like a pair of dueling violins. The technical demands were staggering. Even seasoned virtuosos struggled with these pages, and some declared them unplayable. Yet Liszt pressed on. His transcendental etudes, published in the early 1830s and revised by 1852, set a new bar for what the piano could do. Critics noticed. Charles Rosen, decades later, would call these etudes the first true transcendental repertoire. But in Liszt's own time, the effect was immediate. Audiences gasped, rivals fumed, and a new legend took shape. A pianist who could conjure the impossible and who dared to make the piano roar like Paganini's violin. The age of technical revolution had begun, and with it, Liszt's journey from prodigy to myth. Coined by Heinrich Heine, the term captured a frenzy that numbers alone could barely contain. Paris police reports logged crowd surges and fainting spells at Liszt's concerts. Satirical papers like Le Charivari ran front-page caricatures, women swooning, men fighting for a piece of his gloves. The Arad concert agency's ledgers showed ticket receipts soaring past 20,000 francs in a single night. Vienna's city records noted extra patrols for crowd control, while Budapest's concert treasury listed profits swollen by the sale of souvenir handkerchiefs. The mania was real, measured in ink, coin, and chaos. In the mid-1840s, concert programs began listing a single name: Franz Liszt. No orchestra, no supporting acts, just one man at the piano, performing entire evenings from memory. The Arad Company's ledger records list renting a grand piano and insisting it be placed at center stage, facing the audience. Hall diagrams from Vienna and Paris show new seating arrangements built around the pianist, not the orchestra. For the first time, the focus was absolute, a single artist commanding the room, every note held in his mind. The modern piano recital was born not by accident but by Liszt's design. Across concert halls today, Liszt's fingerprints remain. Every solo recital, every fearless innovation echoes his revolution. The piano still demands what he demanded: risk, vision, fire. His legacy isn't just history, it's living proof that genius can reshape the world. What echoes of Liszt do you hear now?